And I was on a set, was the day before yesterday, and we are talking about actors and casting, and somebody was saying that they will look at your social media handle and
Yes.
find out if
Yes.
you have followers. And
Yes.
as far as I'm concerned, I think that's nonsense. Because a talent is a talent. A talent is a talent regardless. You can't use those numbers to judge an original talent. You might mislead yourself. So there are people who have heavy social media following, but when it comes to talent, they're nowhere to be found. They don't have anything, they're empty. So they use it, monetize it, and make all the noise. These days is who makes the most noise, but for me, I think it's more about empty vessels making the most noise. So if a drum is filled with sand, if you hit it, you won't even get the sound, but when it's empty, it makes, in fact, all of us will be shocked in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
So for me, talent first,
Yeah.
then begin to think about the numbers.
When did you first realize that your voice was going to make you money?
When I first realized, I had this friend, the big brother though, Chude Jideonwo, and yeah, Digitrack, but he was called Ajaka Films then. We met in a funny place.
I won't ask.
In a very funny place. Two of us going for two different people as we went there, and one thing led to the other. I was started gisting, and he invited me over to his studio, and I went. And when I got there, he started playing. Of course, I started singing. He stopped and looked at me, and it's a lie. I said, yeah. So then he offered me a job to be the PRO, and then he said, for extras, I should be singing on jingles, be doing jingles, and writing copies for jingles and all that. And I find it quite interesting. So tried it, it worked, we liked it. That's how singing jingles became forte for me. And then for voiceovers, we're still in the studio one day. Sonny Rabo walked in, was looking for somebody to do a voiceover. And he couldn't get it. And I said, hey, let's try you. Can you try? I said, I've never done voiceover before. And I said, I'll tell you what to do. So he taught me what he wanted me to say. I tried the voiceover. The first time, he said, second, third, we did like about 5 takes. And then the fifth one was like that take. And I listened to it. Then they paid me. How much did they pay me that time? Paid me, was it 30 naira? Big money that time. 30 naira was big money. I said, And so that's how my journey to voiceover started.
Right.
And incidentally, some few years ago, about 2 years ago, I had the privilege of sitting with Sonny Rabo like this on Sonny Rabo, and was interviewing and talking about voiceover. I said, well, you started the journey. And so that's how it is. So then I realized that making money with voices was going to be an integral part of my career. There was a point in time I took a hiatus from acting when people were casting me in that mode of bad boy, and it was beginning to affect my psyche and all that.
Oh, really?
I was getting very depressed at it, and so I took a 2-year hiatus.
Right.
And what kept me going was voiceovers.
Voiceover.
I was doing voiceovers, paying school fees and paying rent and all that with voiceovers until, by dint of luck, or I say luck is strict, Guinness called for me to come and do a show, Party On, and I did Party On, and everything started changing for the better. And then the icing on the cake was with Charles Novia when he said I should come and play Otumba in Atlanta. And I did that, and the entire dynamics changed then. So I came back to acting.
Right.
So I realized that voice is a powerful tool, and I'll do voiceover till eternity. And again, on stroke of luck, I'm the current president of the Association of Voiceover Artists. So works and did an interview with CNN also. It was very privileged to have that interview with CNN talking about encouraging young talents to come into the business, and we're all for it, and we'll continue to work for it and make sure that when we bring up young stars to do that what they need to do.
Right.
Yeah.
When you say that, being cast in those roles that made you depressed, what happened?
Well, because at that point in time, a lot of them were traveling. It was a novel idea. The likes of Ramsey, Jim Ike, all of them were being seen as the good boys, R&B. So, and I was being looked upon like a devil. What's wrong? It's just a role. I mean, if you have to cast for a role of God and devil, somebody has to play God. Someone has to play devil. Doesn't mean the person. But a lot of people took it upon themselves to castigate me, flog me, all sorts of things. And whatsoever, I was a bit slim, gaunt, with my eyes bulging, I was going to drop from their socket. And then everybody started calling me Oju Yobo and all that, And I looked a bit ferocious in my roles. They forgot that. It's just a job. And so the perception of the public was, when I had to do casting, go get that guy. He has to. In fact, the marketers at that time too, when they call, I remember one marketer saying to me, Jego, I get shoot to any power. I said, what? You get jacket, and they shoot. That means you use your left hand.
To shoot, yes.
I got here.
That's what moves in the market.
I just looked at you, I said, God. So I tell you, say these guys are very funny.
Yeah.
But well, the rest is history now.
You talked earlier about, your daughter asking you questions. I think in 2017 you said something, or the blog said you said something, that social media contributed to the ruining of your festival.
Was there social media?
So I thought to say it doesn't make logical sense, but it's actually on the blog.
Well, they told a lie that they cannot even defend.
Exactly, because social media was not there at the time.
I got married in 1996. That was a period of silent night.
Yes, that was long before Facebook.
Because she did Domitila, I did silent night. We're working at the same time.
Yeah.
In 1997, the marriage packed up. And so how can it go back? Was there social media? That tells us
that's the laziness.
That's kind of the laziness.
Did you see this story though?
Thankfully, I didn't see it. Thankfully, I didn't see it.
I said this is such a lazy story.
1997.
Such a
fast
lazy
forward
story.
to 2006, I said social media. How did social media? Who knew anything about social media
at the time? Yeah. What is the experience like of seeing yourself weekly on the front pages of the magazines that everybody is reading?
Well, I try to ignore it as much as possible and don't thrive in it because, say, once you give credence to a story, like, for instance, now, something is written about you, and you do a rejoinder, you've set yourself up. Because people wouldn't see it before.
We see this new one.
We now want to go back
Yeah.
and see it. So most cases, I just ignore, I go to sleep. When that happened to me in 1997, when it packed up, I kept quiet. I didn't say anything. Just let it go.
Yeah. You don't say anything even till date.
Till date, I said nothing. And I don't want to say anything about it. I don't want to discuss about it. Just let it go.
Yeah.
It happened. Look, shit will always happen.
Right.
Everybody has a closet. It's when you open your closet, people see what's in it. When you close your closet, nobody sees it. And when you talk about it, people will know. When you don't talk about it, people don't know. So, shut up. Never regret it. I never regret. Learn from the mistake. Move on. That's it.
That's it. This is as an unmarried man. What makes marriage a beautiful thing to do? Because you did marriage again after that. And of course, as usual, you didn't talk about it in public. What makes marriage a thing that you decided you would do again?
I stayed out of marriage after the first one cracked. I stayed out of marriage for like 12 years before I remarried.
Oh, wow.
I remarried in 2008.
Right. Had you given up on marriage before then?
Not that I gave up on marriage. I was just a bit confused about getting the right person, not the right people, getting the right person. I had gone into so many crazy relationships. What one that was good, crazy, bad. I'd seen all. I'd just seen all. And that year, 2007, I cried to God in January. I said, Father, Lord, I've had enough. Can you just give me a wife? I said, just find me a wife. I remember I cried that New Year's Eve. I said, I'm tired. And then I went for a wedding. And I saw this beautiful woman, and I asked my PA to go talk to her, get the number. He came back, he was scared, the stupid boy. Meanwhile, I had seen her when she passed me.
Right.
I'd seen her when she passed
Why
me.
did you say hello then?
No, I was just coming out of a cab.
Right.
And she was with her auntie. And the auntie said, Segun Arinze. And she looked at them like, what's wrong with you? You know? So Julius Agu was there. Both of us were MCs. And it was Don Chichi. Two Faces manager.
Oh, at the time, yes.
So he was getting married.
Time.
Came back from London. Right. To get married. So they're related, like distant cousins. And then trust Julius Agu, your brother now. And I said, my brother, because we called her out to come and witness. You know when you say people come and witness court of case? I said, he now goes, my brother, they leave a wife. Oh. I said, Julius, who beg you walk?
God sent him.
So it was after that I actually looked at her very well. I said, okay. Then when I saw her online, I went to meet her and said, hi. She said, hi. And she was speaking. I said, did you train abroad or school up? She said, no, why? I said, the way you spoke in English. Can I have a number? And so she opened her purse, brought out her card, and did this. I took the card. I was looking at like, what's wrong with this one? Segun, what have you put yourself in? So I found out she was working with Schlumberger, and then I called her. We just chatted and all that. And I didn't now call for like some couple of days. She now sent me a message. Oh, you now call people, you now take people's number and you don't call them.
I love it.
And I called her back and said, okay, what do you do for lunch or dinner? And that's how it started. The rest is history.
Yeah.
We're 16 years in marriage now. With 3 lovely kids.
With 3 lovely kids, yes.
She's a lawyer, actually.
Right.
She's also my legal advisor for free of charge, but she'll tell you pay me. Yeah. So when we were talking about it, so I've learnt a lot from her. And she's got this patience, this very strong way of being patient and tolerant. She'll just go through it. But I hardly see her spark or flip. In our marriage, I can count the number of times that I've seen her get angry. And it doesn't last. I go back to her and say, hey, I'm sorry. And when she does things that I'm upset about, I don't shout, I don't scream. But when in the private, madam, so, no good, don't do it. Don't do it like this. She'll tell me, that thing you did, I don't like it. Don't try it. Don't do it. It's not nice. You need to do this, you need to do that. And that for me it's wonderful when both of you can communicate. The most effective tool in any marriage is communication. Yeah. It's beautiful when you do that. Yeah. It's mostly when every problem is shared and discussed. Yeah. You can never go wrong. And then above every other thing else, be prayerful. Be very, very, very prayerful.